Thank you for tuning in to the Stay Fligh podcast. I'm your host, Baby J. Today, I've got Dylan with Cultivated Wellness out of Hattiesburg, as well as several other locations. Mm-hmm. I'll let him do his own intro because he is what we like to call a connoisseur.
Hi, my name is Dylan Spencer. I'm the Purchase and Quality Director for Cultivated Wellness Dispensaries. We're in Hattiesburg, Tupelo, and Gulfport, but I came from a long background of doing this. I did some work with horticulture and things at Mississippi State, and over the course of the years ended up across the country doing some work in the cannabis industry, and finally came home. And it's been nice to see this whole place grow up like this, because we never thought we were going to come home and get to do this here. So we're very proud to have SoCrop with us.
Oh, of course. Well, we appreciate y'all, putting us on your shelves and allowing us to have a space to show our products. Now I know that you have experience not only through your education, mm-hmm. but you said earlier you were in the Colorado market, correct?
Yes, for a while. We went out there when they were in the caregiver system, like back when there was still a caregiver system, which was where you could basically one person could hold cards for people and could grow their cannabis. They were allotted for their medical cards. We had several friends out there that did it at pretty large scale because as they got closer to recreational legality, they kind of really restricted that back. And I worked out there for a little while, and then unfortunately lost a work permit due to some getting arrested for cannabis. Yeah. So ended up back here working and just doing a lot of different things, and then ended up back in this when the opportunity arose itself.
So what really drove you into the cannabis industry, you feel like?
It really goes back to my grandfather passing of cancer. Back in the day, there was a drug called Marinol. Mm-hmm. That really realistically doesn't do anything. It's like synthetic THC. It's patented or whatever. And unfortunately, at the time, you couldn't get. That was in like early 2010s, like 2012. You couldn't get. There was no compassionate, there was no medical, no anything. And watching somebody waste away from like chronic wasting disease is horrible. Yeah. And that really got me into it because we tried, and it was just and now you just not like this, but they would take your opiate and pain medications away from you if you got tested as a cancer patient. So he wasn't able to do it. So that what kind of drove me into the business, just wanting to be in it and helping people, because I come from a background of people in the medical field and stuff like that. It's just want to be in it to help people, because nobody needs to suffer like that.
And so when you went to school at Mississippi State, did you know?
Yeah, that's what I went up there. I did computer science and horticulture, and that was pretty much what I wanted to do is like precision agriculture stuff, mm-hmm. and because that was always kind of what I enjoyed doing. Yeah, that was a very interesting experience, because State there's so much you can do at State. That's what was nice about it. You could take all those classes, and what I usually focused on was trying to get into those like greenhouse thing. That's why I wish the State had greenhouses.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just for the people listening, can you give a quick overview of what precision agriculture really is?
Yeah, precision agriculture is like a lot of the stuff you see in Mississippi with like corn and stuff like that. They're just like mass throwing nutrients and just pouring chemicals out there. Precision agriculture kind of leans itself to doing like a more regenerative style, where you're kind of precision laying down out like your rows, your crops, and rotating them on a really precise thing with a lot of robotic tractors, and reducing your labor inputs and stuff to drive the price of food down, but also not having to spend as much on fertilizers and things like that, because that's what they really have been focusing on with the USDA, because of all the green energy stuff and all the green carbon stuff, is to keep the carbon in the ground and not till it. Mm-hmm. And so to do all that, you really have to put together a precise system to be able to apply the nutrients where it needs to be, and not have the nitrogen runoff like you see that causes the allergy plains in the Mississippi River. That's kind of the focus of it, is to target all those nutrient applications, and lay it out in a very specific method, and using big data to analyze it all to do it all properly and get the peak yields out of everything.
Well, that's interesting, because that does go very, very, very straightforward into cannabis and growing systems.
And a lot of people don't even realize that cannabis is like the cutting edge of agriculture. A lot of the things that are developed in small outfits are just thought up about how to correct some problem, because there's not a lot of things, because you're having to do it in hand. It has been transferred to a lot of places, and you don't even realize it. Some of this, like the hydroponic. Yep. If it wasn't for cannabis, the hydroponic industry wouldn't be like what it is.
Oh, today. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's changed. Like that's in Holland. That's how it all became a thing. And that's what's driven that industry.
And that's one of the things that I know. I was sitting in this facility one day and I opened the door and I was looking at the flower rooms and the tiered system and I was like, this is probably how everyone's going to start growing vegetables and fruits at some point once it becomes cost effective.
Once it becomes cost effective, especially in large scale greenhouses. Yeah. Like you'll see multi-story greenhouses with the same setups we have, but instead of, because we have to have it inside under these doors, you'll lose the building, put these big industrial greenhouses up, and grow the same multi-tiered systems and not have to suck up the power that we have to suck with the lighting systems.
That's true.
You'll just do supplemental greenhouse lighting to extend light cycles if you need to.
Yeah.
And a lot of the foods don't require the same light because they're not growing for THC levels and things like that. If you're growing a tomato, you can do it with 6 hours of sunlight, whatever. You just got to make sure that tomatoes will grow year round as long as it don't get too cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Most vegetable plants will.
Because I was asking my brother, I was like, hey, have you seen any companies that have done that? And he's told me, the only companies that you see do like an indoor grow style, kind of like we do with cannabis, is leafy greens. But super local.
Yeah, hyper local stuff and things that are super susceptible to bugs or out of zone, like you're trying to grow leafy greens in South Mississippi. It's too hot. During the summer to do that. So if you're going to do them, you got to do them inside in like a greenhouse application.
Yeah, no, exactly. And but you're all right. I mean, it's the cutting edge for a lot of things, and it's funny because one of the things that you mentioned is a lot of guys are not going into the cannabis industry saying, "Oh, I'm trying to push the ag industry."
Yeah, no,
they're going into it. They have a problem that comes up. They make a solution, and next thing you know, someone either stumbles upon it on their own merit, or they realize, "Hey, maybe this can be applied across the agricultural field."
Yeah, and then a lot of people don't realize is that, especially with a lot of the talk of federal legality. I mean, you have to stop and think about what happens. The reason you want to focus on really kind of bringing in some of these, not big ag, like what I mean, but bigger agricultural styles and more precise methods of doing it. Because if it does go federally legal, you'll have to do a pivot to because cost reduction will be main. That's the main point of doing stuff with precision agriculture is cost reductions.
Yeah,
because you'll have a wide market to compete with, as opposed to we're all kind of sectioned off in our own little states right now.
Yeah, that's also true. It's just like we run, and that's it's a funny concept because when you look at any other industry, whether it's water bottles or sodas or whatever you may say, it's like you're competing on a national level. Yeah. But and that's what I was trying to explain to people that I know that aren't into this industry and not in Mississippi is, okay, and they're like, oh, how do you like your job? I'm like, well, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah,
and it's definitely challenging.
Okay,
and there's a lot of hours that go into it, but I love it. And the reason it's challenging is because you're looking at a brand new industry in a state, and it's like your state is your country almost.
Yeah.
Is you're in a brand new industry inside of the state that no other companies are in yet, and you're just trying to figure out where you fit in.
That's why I think even for as the dispensaries, that's the reason we try to be not you want to be local and but you gotta really try to focus on getting everything compliant and doing everything's very getting everything right the first time, because if you don't, especially in cultivation, you'll lose crops.
Oh yeah.
And even in the dispensaries.
Oh yeah.
Little mistakes or problems, and that's what it's been I think that's one thing that the market has seen tremendously as people have really learned. I think this has been a big learning experience for a lot of people in the market. Even me, it was interesting to see that how difficult it really was to do it at the end of the day when you're sitting down and getting into it. Because I think especially when you're doing these highly regulated markets like this, it's not you think you kind of know how everything's going to go, but you never. There's so many road bumps and everything. Just like the recent snafu with the quarantine and stuff like that. Nobody was prepared for stuff like that.
Oh no!
And it's just like having constant need to adapt is something that's very necessary in this business.
And I think that's also goes again with brand new state, brand new industry.
The growing pains are always interesting, but it's fun to be a part of them.
Yeah, of course.
It's fun to see how it all is going to turn out in 5 years.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes when the regulations drop.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're all lucky to have these types of jobs in the state.
100%.
Before this, there wasn't this much. I don't think there was opportunity for a lot of people like this.
Oh no, not at all. And I think back to you mentioned very lightly the quarantine that we just had, and I think that speaks volumes to how seriously the state takes this program.
Yeah,
and making sure that we're putting the patients first at the end of the day.
They're doing it. I think it's good that we do it. I think it could have been handled a little bit
differently.
But it's definitely good to see that they actually are taking the time to do it instead of just being like, whatever. Because, you know, or being or just being way too heavy handed.
Yeah.
And just striking the whole, because they could have shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
Which they didn't, which is honestly, we were all kind of worried about, you know, these types of things that change legislation's mind.
Oh, it pushes you back a year sometimes,
this
2 years sometimes.
Any negotiations you were having before.
Just shut down right then and there.
We're starting from square one again.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, you know, what are some of the biggest takeaways you've had over the past, I mean, we're, a year mark almost now?
Yeah. It's been a crazy thing, but what has blown my mind the most is the acceptance that the state's had.
Mm-hmm.
I figured people were going to be rioting in the streets over some of these. So, you know, and it's just been crazy to see the acceptance of it. Places like Tupelo that you would have expected been so accepting of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see it and see the state really, see the people benefit. It's been a big thing.
I think that's something, I mean, even us in Meridian, I was at an event that was put on, a cannabis event in downtown. And I was like, wow, we're having a cannabis event in downtown Meridian. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a gentleman walk up to me and he was like, you know, y'all are one of the cultivators here in the state. And I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're a process center. And he's like, yeah, the one over by the co-op. I was, yes, sir. And he's like, thank you for coming to Meridian. Yeah. And I was like, kind of took a step back. I was like, you know, I've never thought about it like that. I've never sat here and been like, this is generating jobs, this is generating an economy. I've kind of been in my own bubble saying, 100%. You know, trying to get my job done, do everything, and still very grateful to be part of it. Mm-hmm. But it is a really cool thing to see how many jobs it's produced, how it's boosted the economy. Oh, and raised
people. A lot of people have had their whole lives changed, me included.
Yeah,
I would have never had the opportunity.
Yeah,
prior to this.
No, 100%.
To be in the position that I am, and I'm proud of it. That's why I take what I do very seriously.
Yeah, same on our side. I mean, we don't take anything lightly when it comes to the cannabis industry because, again,
we're all very lucky to be here.
We're very lucky to be here, like you said. And do I think that I would have ever been sitting in this seat when I was 12 years old, 15 years old, and thinking about what I'm going to do next in the world? No, not at all. No, I never thought that this would be my job.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be in the cannabis. I just never thought I would be able to excel at this type of level and be able to do things like that I'm able to do now. You know, getting to go throughout the state and visit cultivators and purchase cultivators, visit these facilities and help maintain products and stores and just manage all that. You never would have thought I would have been able to achieve it, but I think a lot of this, we've had the opportunity to grow, and that's been amazing with this state, just to see that it's actually being accepted and people are using it and people appreciate it.
Yeah. With that being said, have you been pretty impressed with the products that have come out of Mississippi, or what's your opinion there?
There are some really, really good products in this state. I've seen some excellent products. There's one of my favorite cultivators out there is Southern Hemp, a guy named Sutton Hooks runs it. He's got my favorite strain right now, the blueberry muffins, but you know, it's actually been pretty impressive to see the like places like y'all can like mainly the devices like y'all's recent Dablicator thing that y'all came out with, stuff like that. You know, that's going to make the market so much easier, especially for these older patients and things like that.
Yeah, for precise dosing.
I never thought we would already be this well advanced into it this quickly. I thought it was going to be. I didn't know if the state was going to want it. You know what I mean? That was my biggest concern. I've enjoyed everything. There's some, you know, there was some learning curves there the first couple months of the market back last year. Of course, and nobody can be faulted for that. But I've seen everybody really truly improve over the past couple of months. Like especially coming in these most recent harvests coming down. You've seen the numbers really level out. People getting their stuff dialed in.
Terpenes are going up.
Are going up. A lot of all that stuff because that was kind of the problem in the beginning. People were getting their THC numbers, but the terpenes weren't there. But that just comes with time and dialing in environments and getting your nutrient levels right. PHs. It's these big facilities like this that y'all are doing. These take a year to stabilize and get it all set up.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
If not longer, you know what I mean, to get the environment stabilized, just the kinks worked out.
Oh yeah, and that's like a conversation I had, you know, with our head cultivator today. I was like, you know, how are we feeling about this upcoming? You know, as we're getting ready to put in a transplant, we just sterilized a couple different rooms.
Yeah.
And, we just are getting ready to put in our, you know, another round of transplanting from your tissue culture lab.
Yeah.
he was like, dude, honestly, I feel more confident about this upcoming grow than I have than any of the other ones because we know our environment. I understand it. We've gone through 2 seasons. We've gone through summer and we've gone through winter. We've seen how the buildings reacted. We understand what to expect and where we need to, step up or make a hyper focus during a certain stage.
Exactly.
So, and that's something that you think, an outsider looking in would be like, oh my God, you build this facility, you build a grow. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how big of a grow it is. I don't care how small of a grow it is. Your first couple grows are not going to be perfect.
Never going to be good.
Because it's always going to be things that have to be edited and changed. And you'll be like, oh God, I wish I had known that before.
That's why the golden rule in this industry is usually blast the first round.
Yep.
Make dabs.
Yep, that's right. I think that's what we did. I think I got some frozen material still sitting in the back from the first grow.
Freeze it for when you can squeeze it.
Yep. That's a good way to put it. With that being said, I know you said the blueberry muffin's one of your favorite strains. Are there any other strains that you've seen here in Mississippi that you aren't expecting to see that this quickly or come through?
It's been surprising to see some of the. Not really. It's ironically, the cannabis has gotten so big that I wasn't necessarily surprised to see them because but the ones that I have been more surprised to see is some of the older strains that have come around. Like there was a skunk #1 on the market for a little while from a small grower, and then but it is exciting to see like y'all have some of the bigger strains from the bigger names and stuff like that. Those are always fun. That's what the people really want. That's me as being an old been in it forever. I love the old. School stuff that's got a story or whatever, it means really not a whole lot to anybody, but unless you into it, it's kind of like collecting baseball cards,
Yep.
But because y'all have the tissue culture facility, so y'all get to play with all kinds of fun stuff. But
we try to.
Yeah, I like a lot of play. I like to do seed stuff. I like to play with seeds. I've seen a lot of exciting people. There's another company called Borneo Bud that's got a blackberry right now. It's been super, super amazing.
You said what strain is that?
It's Blockberry.
Blockberry.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually have heard of them recently.
Yeah, they blew up everywhere. They're good.
They blew up recently?
Yeah. That's how I talked about it. I think they sold out the rest of their harvest.
Okay. And y'all carry that
Yeah, we carry it all 3 of our locations. Yeah.
I might have to be driving down here right after this. Because I've heard about them and I've heard about a couple other new cultivators coming online that have been very successful and really doing well.
I think it may have been, if you're a smaller guy, it may have been a little bit smarter to kind of pump the brakes and come out this year when you're not dealing with, when there's more established, you have more space to sell to. Because if you were a small guy those first couple of weeks, it was hard. Yeah. Because there wasn't enough people to sell to. You were getting squeezed really bad. And I think now it's starting to expand a little bit. I'm hoping we see more patience, but there's a lot more than there was a year ago.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think that we were looking at the numbers. I think Mississippi's accelerated quite fast in the first year. I think we've outpaced some other markets.
Because we just hit a year of sales. We were cultivating for, I think it was January something.
And that's the thing is like I don't ever consider the program to be really kicked off until the first transaction's made.
Yeah, no, exactly. There was people growing, but there wasn't any.
There's no sales. There's no medical patients or anything like that.
Nobody's gotten to see what everybody's made of.
Like, for example, I mean, Georgia passed their medical bill in 2014, and they didn't open a dispensary until 2023.
Something like that. Very recently.
Very recently, because I lived in Georgia and I left, I think, the same month they opened their first dispensary.
Yeah. And it's not nearly as wide open as ours is.
Oh, no. Completely closed off.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, okay, you might have legalized in 2014, but you've really not had a program until this year.
Yeah, no,
it's been 9 years since you.
Yeah, and that's. I was scared that was going to happen when they struck the law down here. I think everybody was terrified.
Oh yeah.
They didn't do it. They didn't do too. The law here is, honestly, with being in it, it's a lot of
It's a lot to read.
It's a lot to read, but it's a lot to do anywhere. It's not. It's not unique here that it's a lot.
Yeah, if people think that heavy regulations around this product,
no, go to California.
Yeah, like we're not
nowhere
just out here just selling weed, selling cannabis.
A lot of people's. I've had people. Sometimes people when they get into this business, I think that's what trips them up. They're not ready for that part of it.
Yeah, the compliance section. I found that people have struggled with compliance and taxes.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah. That's why we have this. God bless the accountants.
Yeah, really. Because I can read.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm crunching numbers like that.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna, don't put my signature on it. Well, you can, but somebody needs to check the math.
But yeah, no, it's been a blessing that this has happened in the Southeast, especially Stay Fligh, Mississippi, that has really
we needed
accepted it.
And we needed something like this to really, I think,
to boost our economy,
boost the economy, and just breathe we needed something new going on here.
Yeah, and it's brought a ton of natives back to Mississippi.
It really has. And because there was people all over the country that were in this business, but they left. I knew tons of people. We were all over the country, and we finally, it's nice to come home.
Yeah,
and not have to, there's people, it's also probably will help people from out west that are trying to leave the West come here, because we have the program and you can it's not that hard, to do, and you can get into, and people that already have their cards out there can be down here, and we have good prices on houses, and it'll hopefully help grow the economy in the state as a whole.
Yeah, I really hope it will help grow the economy and the population. I mean, it's just like funny. I don't even think that I would be sitting here having a podcast to talk about cannabis.
No, never. Especially not sitting in Meridian, Mississippi.
Yeah, exactly. Case in point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with your growth in the cannabis industry, what is it that you focus in on, or you feel like, there's maybe an area that you have untapped? I know y'all are in the dispensary game, and
we're talking about maybe possibly doing a cultivation soon, but we're probably way down the road. We try to. I think the main thing is in this industry. What I think what's really missing right now is a kind of like a more. We've got a lot of different things, but we're missing a lot of the the more niche products in the market. I've been talking with a couple processors and stuff, maybe trying to fill some of that, like some of your more rosins and stuff like that.
Okay.
And carrying house brands and stuff like that of that. And it, not even just because, because there's a lot of flour and stuff out there there's so much flour.
There's a lot of flour.
So much flour out there. And the only way to really preserve the value of it is to extract cannabinoids from it. But people get tired of carts.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I've been trying to talk to a lot of people about doing more dabbable concentrates. I think that's the hole that's missing, because we have patients beg for them.
Really?
Oh yeah, and we sell what we can get, but there's not that many places to get the stuff.
Well, and do you think that that's the reason for that is because of the cap that we are currently,
Not really, because most of the people these are mostly newer people that are coming on to the concentrate stuff, so they don't really care that it's.
So it's not experienced.
You're talking about people. Some people have been buying for a year, and they'll have, they've got a tolerance, or they just want to try something new, and especially now you're starting to see people asking about it because they've been in patients and they've got online, they've been in it long enough to figure out, because
they've been doing their own research.
Yeah, because if you look at LeafLink releases this thing where it's the market breakdown every year, or whatever. When they rate the market is in Colorado is 70% concentrates, 30%. Wow. It's super skewed concentrates as the market matures, and I think that's one thing that the state's got. Some of the suppliers aren't catching up to is they keep growing more and more and more and more different flowers and stuff. Grow more flower, turn it into something else. Then give them more variety of products. There's not just gummies, because we have tons of gummies and stuff like that. But there's that, the dabbable stuff is really that kind of missing thing, bubble hashes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what we've been trying to talk with people about, trying to really get done here recently.
Yeah, I know I talked with another guest that we had on if it was possible, I'd love to see some traditional hash.
Yeah.
Some hand-rolled hash.
Yeah, some stuff like that. And that could be done because it would be under the limit.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing is that there is concentrates products that come out purely under the limit.
You just a lot of bubble hashes, or if you press the right micron of stuff to make Percy rosin and stuff like that. Maybe not Percy rosin. That's really potent stuff. But just rosins you can press and do more than just have all this flour sitting around, because you can. It's only so much. A lot of people want to try something else, and there's only so much room for shelves on flowers for strains. You can't. It's not infinitesimal in spaces, because we try to carry everything. But even with our larger stores, there's not enough room to carry everything.
Y'all's Tupelo store is pretty massive, and I mean, if y'all carried everything in there, I don't think y'all would have space.
No,
y'all wouldn't even be able to walk in the door.
No, yeah, and that's what I would, because so we needed to start trying to maybe pivot to see if we can. I would like to see the coolers with the the dabs and stuff in more variety, because it can be done. It's just it has to be. I think the suppliers want to get ensured that there's a market to sell it to. And that's what we've been trying to help do, is kind of try to facilitate that lane to do that.
Oh, well, I think that's a very appropriate route for us to take at the year mark, because like you said, now people are starting to explore it on their own. They've built up a tolerance, because maybe the first 6 months having the concentrates out there, maybe there wouldn't have been as much of a market,
because it's more cost effective as well. If you're actually trying to medicate, 100%. If you're trying to be truly medicated throughout the day, that's the cheapest way to do it, especially with cancer patients and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially with the with when it comes to buying edibles versus buying a syringe.
Yeah,
I mean, your money gets stretched probably 6 times.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the best. To me, that's the best way to ingest it. It's because it's clean. It's not have much sugar in it.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, and it gives an option to, like, with diabetic.
Yeah, 100%. And we get that a lot. People looking for sugar-free gummies. Surprisingly, there's not really any on the market. Is it because you don't think about it until somebody's like, "Yeah, I can't eat like a cube of sugar."
Yeah, and there's a lot of sugar in them because there's a lot of flavoring in them.
That's shit. I mean, it's jello, basically. It's glycerin,
Yeah, and it's not the easiest to digest either.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not a huge fan of the gummies myself.
No.
Yeah.
So what's your preferred method of consumption? Flower, concentrate?
I like to smoke flower and everything, but if you're going to do it, if I'm going to just take it, I prefer to like either do the pills or do a dab.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you take the pills from us, or are those too weak for you?
No, yeah. I've tried the Delta Bud ones. Those are really good. There's several different, and that's when I was out of it, because I smoked cigarettes forever, and I've tried to quit. And when if you smoke flower, it makes you want to smoke tobacco.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny. Well, I agree. I think I like concentrates myself. I love pressed rosin.
Yeah,
that's my preferred method of consumption if I can get my hands on it.
Yeah.
I know out in Montana they have a really niche hash community.
Yeah.
And pressed hash.
Yeah.
Or live hash rosin. Yeah. And I mean, if we ever had something like that down here, I'd be pretty ecstatic.
Yeah, one of my favorite companies like that is there's a company from out west called, that's the first thing I buy if I go to Colorado or go to Denver, is the 710 Labs.
Oh yeah, I love 710 Labs.
It's the best stuff. That's the best stuff ever.
Yeah. I know. I think everyone on the sales team is pretty big fans.
Everybody loves 710.
Yeah, I love 710.
Yeah. And their rosin pins are really, really good.
Oh, the vape pens?
Yeah.
Are they disposables or just cartridges?
They said they do a disposable. I like some of the disposables, and honestly sometimes are better because the devices are a little bit better than the carts. Yeah. Sometimes carts are just annoying because they'll break or leak or whatever.
Yeah, I know that's something that we're looking at. We don't currently offer disposable, but we're looking at expanding that portfolio.
Yeah, I know there's ways, but that's one thing there's a company out there called, like the Stizzy, the pods, or somebody needs to do the thing with PAX pods, because they've got the thing that they do. It's like a pod system, kind of like a Juul or whatever.
Like a Stizzy is.
Yeah, it's just like a Stizzy. That's what really needs to come out, because because they don't break like a cart does.
Yeah, I know Rove also just introduced theirs, but not here in Mississippi.
Yeah. Somebody, I guess it really is just going to take a supplier, I guess, reaching out and wanting to do it.
Maybe one of them has to enter the market.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because there's no really restrictions on them selling equipment places. It's just, you gotta have, I guess.
Oh no, they just have to put it. They just have to get a license or go under someone else's license as a co-brand.
Yeah.
So with y'all's, one of the things I know that you've always talked about is that you've always been fascinated with genetics, and how people even in the state of Mississippi are altering genetics, breeding genetics. Is there something, what is it that fascinates you with genetics, you feel like?
I think it's just the fact that what really got me started when I realized back in the day when I first started playing with cannabis, every seed you pop is different. Like you can pop 10 different, let's just say, Granddaddy Perp seeds. You've got 3 different types of it, and each one's unique. Every time it's a unique experience when you grow it, and something that you get to play with and see how this one does. And just the variety of experiences you can experience from this plant, just because of like when you crossing things and really create unique experiences with the plant and unique profiles with the plant, like aromas and tastes and smell. It fascinates me, that part of it, just the ability to do whatever you want with it, because it's one of the few plants we have left where you can do the dioecious crossing, because you have the male and the females, and it's almost infectious, that stuff, that doing that type of stuff, because just to see what happens. You
get lost in it.
Get lost in it, because you can do fun, fancy things and all of it, but for me, my favorite thing to do is just do open pollination stuff.
Yeah,
and just see it. Not just you do it with specific things, but I feel tissue culture and all that's amazing. I think you lack some of the magic that happens when you do
the artistry.
Yeah,
that's what you're lacking. It goes more from an art form to a science-based project.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I'm not sure if you've seen have you seen the I forget his name, but the Freak Show strain.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
and his newest iteration, Super Freak.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, I saw them rolling through Instagram the other day.
Yeah. I just purchased a book. A photographer called Eric Christensen does some nug shots, and he travels country, and he published a book, and that Freak Show's in there. And I mean that by itself is that's art. That is not how many iterations of genetics have you gone through to try to get that?
Thousands of seeds.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go to thousands, because that's a mutation. That's a genetic mutation or something.
Yeah, because you think even the most famous brand in the country, cookies, that was a bag seed.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Some of the biggest things that have happened in the cannabis industry have been happy accidents from bag seeds.
But that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is pushing the ag industry through those happy accidents.
Because the way we do genetics in cannabis could really save a lot of the problems we have in the food industry, like loss of corn and things like that. We reduced the nutrition to nothing, and that's our breeding habits that we do with this. They're very rigid and keeping up with everything. Could be reintroduced to kind of undo some of the stuff that Monsanto has done over the years.
Yeah, that's right. Well, when it comes to breeding here in the state of Mississippi, have you seen any cultivators that you feel are doing some significant breeding?
I've seen a couple, but I don't think we haven't been operational long enough for anybody to get anything really locked
really stable.
Yeah, you need to really work out, flesh out everything. You need to grow all your starters a couple times, really get those locked out, get some good crosses and everything, and then get some males and stuff like that. It usually takes, I'd say by the end of this year, we'll probably see some people drop some really nice stuff.
Okay.
I know that, what's just the name of that little company? I can't remember the name of the company up there, but I saw one smaller guy that he's doing some stuff, but he's not ready. They're not ready yet.
They haven't gone on market.
And then there is a company called Dragonfire Farms that has a lot of their own old genetics too. That's done a lot of stuff prior. They brought it down. They've been doing it for years, and they've got some cool stuff coming out.
Well, I know that over in Europe, breeding is maybe not as prevalent in their cannabis culture as they, from my understanding, what I've been told is, yes, breeding is still on the forefront, but they also stick very, very solely with the genetics that they've bred for thousands and
they like the land race stuff over there.
Yeah,
they like land race stuff.
It's funny over there. Is you can crack seeds, and there's I've learned all of this very recently, probably over the past few days. Is you can crack seeds over there, and you may not get as many iterations because the genetics have stabilized so much.
Yeah,
which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, they've stabilized the genetics out because they've been using the same ones
over and over.
That's the reason. White Widow is a great example of that. They've stabilized White Widow to a point that you can't really be like greenhouse genetics. Those guys that you've probably seen the YouTube videos. Like
are they out of the Netherlands?
Yeah. And that's over there. They've got that worked out over there. They've been doing that since long before we have been here.
Have you ever had an opportunity to go over there?
No, I've unfortunately never been able to get over there.
I would love to. I have not either. Yeah. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to pretty soon to see the cannabis market.
Yeah, I think it's recently gotten very weird over there in Holland with the laws too, because I think they started they changed the coffee house rules.
I was just about to say I think that's accurate.
Yeah, it's like back how it was in the 90s. as opposed to being more. It was way more. They had like loosened it up.
They had loosened it to where they could serve alcohol.
Yeah,
and now I heard that that's completely shut down.
Yeah, they've kind of reined it back in a little bit, I think.
And
which
the United
hilarious.
States, we're starting to just finally unravel this whole cannabis.
I'm excited to see when Florida goes recreational. That will be fun.
If Florida goes
recreational. If they'll go, they need to. I don't think they'll not.
I would be shocked if they didn't.
There's so many people from California moved down there, and all those people from out of the country that have it already. I don't think it'll not go because plus I think they know how much money they're gonna make.
Oh yeah,
I think
tourists and maybe we'll have a dispensary inside Disney World.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You put one next to Disney World, you're gonna make more money than you know what to do with.
Yeah, exactly.
But you already got Curaleaf and all them down there.
They'll hold the market.
And people like Jungle Boys moved down there specifically to make it go rag.
Yeah,
and those guys are gonna they're gonna kill it.
Well, they're crushing it.
They're crushing it now, and then you turn them loose not because California was destroying those businesses out there.
Oh yeah, there's no reason to be a breeder or a grower in California right now.
No, unless you're some giant conglomerate. Because you got to sell to a distributor. But in Florida, you get a license. It's top to bottom. You got you got to
go all the way through.
Yeah, and they're Florida's pretty pro business from what I understand.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not going to turn away a good dollar.
Well, it's been cool to see a lot of other states opening up. Ohio's recent bill is probably the most progressive recreational bill I've seen.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like almost very not unregulated, but loose.
Yeah, and the tax rates is the lowest in the country. Yeah, or the original proposed bill was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful. I think that at the end of the day, we can say that we're moving in the right direction in the state of Mississippi. We're also moving in the right direction
nationwide
in the nation. Yeah. Well, I think that brings us to a good ending point. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on and speaking with us. I think that you're definitely we're going to have you back on here in the next 6 to 7 months. Thank you very much for tuning in.
I appreciate y'all for having us.
Is there anything that you any closing remarks or anything you want to highlight before we?
No, I think that we're good. I enjoyed speaking with you.
Well, thank you very much.
Enjoyed having us. All
right, you can roll that up and smoke it. Thank you for tuning in to the Stay Fligh podcast, brought to you by Southern Crop.